So crazy because as it is right now, my blood sugar is riding at a 72, but I feel way lower than a 72. You know how it is. And also, so what is new? I don't know. But last week we were I can't say what it is yet, but it's really exciting. But I had a whole film crew here. We were filming some stuff, and my call time was like 5:30 in the morning, so I had to set my alarm for 4:30 because as a girl, we have to do our makeup, our hair, all of that kind of stuff. And I give myself, since I'm using multiple daily injections, I give myself insulin 12 hours apart. I inject in the morning, 7 a.m. usually, and then in the evening at 7 a.m. My morning dose is a little bit more forgiving, so if I give it a little bit earlier, it's not usually that big of a deal. But totally forgot. So this one morning I was like getting ready, and it's not normal that I usually have a film crew here every day of the week. And so I felt like there was a lot of stress and overwhelm just getting ready and getting prepared and remembering that I had everything that I needed for this shoot. So I didn't give myself insulin. After over 21 years of living with diabetes, it happens. And I think it's one of those things that sometimes people don't really understand because we're talking about your life, and how can you forget to give yourself insulin, right? But it definitely happens. So if you've ever done this and felt ashamed or bad for doing it, you are not alone. I did it just last week. My blood sugars were so crazy all day. They were high, they were low because I was rage bolusing. I'm thinking, why am I so high? Is it because I just didn't get that much sleep last night? And then it wasn't until the next morning when I was giving myself my dose that I was like, oh yeah, you totally forgot to give yourself insulin. So it definitely does happen. But you know what? I'm really excited about this episode today. I'm so excited that you are here because we're going to be talking about this one shift in mindset that makes the biggest difference when your goal is to lose weight and you want to keep your blood sugar stable and keep that straight line on your continuous glucose monitor. It makes such a difference. So I don't know where you are currently with your fitness and what you know, what you don't know, how you are monitoring your goals. But when it comes to fat loss in general, the most important thing is how many calories you are consuming. And this doesn't mean that you need to be tracking your calories per se, but in general, there's so many different ways to do it. So if your goal is fat loss, you might suddenly be getting so much exercise in, and you're going to be maintaining a calorie deficit even though your diet may kind of be the same. I'm just thinking of myself, for example, like being here in Costa Rica and eating rice and beans. And then when I first got here, I was getting in 10,000 steps a day. So I'm automatically in a bit of a deficit just by doing that. Or it's like maybe your activity level doesn't change, but you're decreasing the amount of calories that you're consuming. So maybe you're just eating less of certain things, or you're eating more leafy greens and veggies, like however you're doing it. Or maybe you are tracking your calories, right? But however you're doing it, the most important thing is that you are maintaining a calorie deficit every single day. That's how you lose weight. Now, when it comes to your goals in the long term, if there are let's look at 3 months, because when it comes to your blood sugars, you get your A1C typically every 3 months. Sometimes not so much, because for me right now, it's going to be pushing over 6 months. Wow. I think by the time I get back to the States, maybe it's going to be like a year since I got my A1C. So that's interesting, but we'll see. Anyways, typically you're looking at your blood sugars in like a 3-month span. And so if you take your if you take your diet and you're looking at it in the long span of things, which is so important, try looking at your diabetes like your fitness. or vice versa, if that makes sense. That's going to be so important. But if you're looking at everything in a 3-month span, and this is just because, again, you normally get your A1C every 3 months, so it's easy to kind of break it down into 3 months, 90 days, whatever. But when you have 1 day or 2 days, or maybe you have a few days where you're like eating a little bit more than you normally do, exercising a little bit less, whatever it is for you, and you kind of feel like, oh, like I just fell off the wagon for that day, and you kind of feel like you totally messed up and you're back at square one. You're not, because when you are looking at things in the long span, which is so helpful, if you're not doing that, you should be. But when you're looking at things in the long span, those 1, 2, 3 days of eating a little bit more food or whatever it is that you feel like you've messed up on, it's not going to set your progress back at all. And if you are looking at your diabetes in the same way, or you're looking at your diet in the same light as diabetes, when you are trying to get your blood sugars in range and you're striving so hard to get that straight line on your continuous glucose monitor, or you're testing your blood sugar a whole bunch, I've been here too, and you have those days, maybe it's 1 day, maybe it's a few days. If you have those days where your blood sugars are nuts, and I'm not talking about, they're up and down, but they're still kind of within range, but you're still feeling the effects of that roller coaster. I'm talking you're having blood sugars in the 200s, in the 300s, way above what you would normally like, and you're feeling like absolute crap. Or maybe it's the opposite end where your blood sugars are just low and you're just feeling really shitty. These days in a 3-month time span, they're not going to work against you when it comes to your overall A1C. And I know this because I've been here. I've had days where when I was using an insulin pump, my sites would fail and I would literally think, oh my gosh, I'm going to see my endocrinologist right now. My A1C is going to be horrible. And I'd be so nervous. And guess what? My A1C was actually better than I ever could have wished it to be. And so this is just proof that when you are looking at the long game, those few days where you feel like you completely messed up and you completely fell off the wagon, it's not going to work against you. So really looking at things in the long span is so helpful. And it's really helps if you can kind of, whether your motivating force right now is your blood sugars or your fitness goals, if you can kind of look at them as in the same sort of light, it helps, because looking at the long game is going to be beneficial. And then just knowing that those few days when you do fall off the wagon, it's not going to derail your overall progress. You're still on the right track. So all you can really do is move forward. Don't look behind you. You're not going that way. So just move forward and do the very best you can, because that is ultimately what's going to lead you to where you want to be. Forgive yourself and keep moving forward. And don't forget, looking at things in the long span is going to really help you achieve your goals. I hope this quick tip episode is helpful to you today. And if it was, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share this episode with a friend, and keep pushing forward. You're doing amazing, even on the days when you second guess yourself, or you doubt yourself, or you don't think you are. You still are, so keep pushing forward. I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in.